It is 5:28 in the morning. I am heading to Tomiko Training Center. We have 30 horses to train at Mohawk. 30. And I want to get a good start to the morning. Yesterday was a little bit of a mixed bag. We've had some luck at the racetrack and then some bad luck at the racetrack also. This is the time of year where, there's a lot of excitement mounting about the youngsters, about the babies, but it's also the time of year when there's some heartbreak, right? One, from the baby side, and that's inevitable. And two, especially this time of year is a little different in 2020 because we should have been seeing all our 3-year-olds start to race way back when in March and April. So our March and April for our sophomores is right now. Some of them have excelled. Miss Brampton Beast looked great last night. On the other hand of that, Capistrano looked terrible. We'll get to that in 1 second. Let's just start from the top, right? We'll talk about it as we go through. I got about another 10-minute drive, so you get 10 minutes of me talking about what has been taking place. We had some issues with 3 of our pacers. Sunshine and Shade, Brush Cut, and Frontier Cruise. We had them all up to the veterinarian yesterday afternoon. 3 very different cases. I thought there would be something a little more commonality there, but it appears that there wasn't. So let's start there. Sunshine and Shade, the veterinarian said looked a little sick, lethargic. That goes without saying. That's why he was there. She too didn't find much with his blood. A few little spots that were bothering him, but nothing major. Overall, she believes there was a little virus running through him, and she believed that his ulcers, he had ulcers and they were bothering him. Now, begs the question, where did the ulcers come from? This horse has always been a great eater. He always seemed good. He never seemed to have any issues with ulcers. Then all of a sudden, now he does, in a seemingly uneventful spring. So, where did they come from? I guess that's a question that's very difficult to answer. So I think aside from trying to rip apart his past history and figure out what happened, the easiest thing to do would be treat him. So we had some ulcer medication. We're going to go easy with him for the next week, train him up good again, and see if we can't get him started back up. There's a few horses I noticed around the area doing the same thing. I had inquired with some horsemen yesterday and the day before, have you seen any of this? The answer was yes. So is there something weird going around? Could be. I don't want to start making assumptions of some sort of weird virus that's floating around Ontario, but we do have 3 or 4 horses that are seemingly dead. They just don't have any life to them, and it doesn't appear up in their blood work. So anyway, Sunshine and Shade, the veterinarian is fairly confident that he can get over what is going on with him. Secondly was Frontier Cruise. This horse was sick under scope after he raced. He was not, but then we took his blood. There wasn't a ton there, but there's something called a serum amyloid A test to test and see if there's any infection in the horse's body. For reference, a normal horse we did last week was his serum amyloid A test come back as 6, the number 6. Frontier Cruises was 1,200. And for even further reference, Willpower Fashions, when he was sick, was up well over 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. So there's quite an array. It's a very vague test, but at the same time, I think gives a fairly definitive look at whether the horse has something going on or not. It appears Frontier Cruise did. No clinical signs of any lameness. That's Frontier Cruise. Brush Cut. Very tricky horse. This is a horse that is tied up in the past. This is a horse that I would swear had shut his air off before when you were grabbing a hold of him. All this revolves around comfort and lack of stress. This horse hasn't been in a very stressful environment, but at the same time, what I might consider stress, or you, or anybody else, or a horse, could be different. So there are some contributors to stress like that, and one of them easily is a horse's state of mind and how their feet are particular. Now, when he went to the vet yesterday, there was no signs that he flipped his palate. I told you guys this when he scoped him, no bruising on the palate, but I was surprised to find out that in the past, they have an apparatus that hooks up to a horse while they're training. It's a little invasive, but at the same time, gives you a real live look at how a horse is behaving during a training mile. And the findings to me were a little surprising. Dr. McKee said that, in fact, the horse can shut their ear off without bruising their palate. It's a very soft palate. So we can't rule out the fact that Brushcut did shut his ear off. I trained him 2 weeks ago, and I would have sworn I did, but again, under scope, it appeared we didn't. As a horseman, I was always told that, you know, when a horse flips her palate, you're going to see some sort of remnants of that. You're going to see bruising, redness, soreness, and then usually followed, there could be some pimples and mucus or even blood down there. So she believes what is going on with Brushcut, his feet are very sore, which is causing him stress, and two, causing him to load torque, if you will, power in different places. So shortly after this, what he would have exhibited was maybe making breaks, interfering, getting himself. So I guess in that sense, it's good that we caught it right away. He didn't appear that there was any issues with his feet. We have shoeing on him. Before everybody sends me a million kinds of shoes that you should wear on Brushcut, please be aware that we're on top of it, and I appreciate it. So we're going to simply change the shoes on Brushcut. We injected his coffin joints yesterday. We'll block his feet the next time he races. If so, that's an easy fix. His serum amyloid A test come back with no significant readings. So that's a good thing. Three very different cases, three very different horses. All three appear like we have a way forward. My most concerning of the three is Sunshine and Shade, who still doesn't appear to be sick, yet looks like he crawled out of a grave. So I think maybe in that regard, he's getting over something that was clearly significant. So although he didn't show up again in blood or under scope, there certainly was definitely something there. So getting to what went on at the track yesterday, as I said, this time of year is a time of year where, you know, people can dream and get excited, and then in other times, seemingly in the blink of an eye, people can have their dreams crushed or be put in a position where they're very uncomfortable. I'm in that position very often. When I went to Mohawk last night, I was looking down the barrel of three long shots and an unknown. I hadn't driven Beach Boutique in a little bit. How would she be? I know that I thought I was very impressed with her mile last week with Sylvain. How would she be? So I went out the track with Sebastian Yu. Sebastian Yu is a colt that showed a lot of speed last year, but as I'd said to you in the recent, not so distant past, he was really struggling. We couldn't get him right. We changed some shoes. I trained him in 2 minutes. I thought he was good. He wasn't. Brought him over there and he ran all over the track. I had one of our clients send me a bit of a stiff message last night, unhappy with the way the horse was driven. I mean, being angry how I drove him. The horse was terrible last night. I could have dug up Stanley Dancer to drive him last night, and he wasn't going to be any good. This is the frustrating part. I can't bring the horses over to school them. There's no schoolers, so you're left training them. Train in 2 minutes, okay. The biggest overarching problem last night was they went in 55, I think, or 54 and 55. He's not trying in 55. I can guarantee you that right now. So you have a horse that, much like Nancy Allison, Sebastian Yu, or listen, there's more than enough on that list, right? Sunshine and Shade, Frontier Cruise. Those horses are all on this list that are really baffling and frustrating people and makes people upset, but at the same time, you have to understand, we have 100 horses. If you seem to think that every horse is going to come back good, I'm sorry, it's just not the way it is, and we're doing our best to try and figure out, okay, which horses are going to need more time, how much time will that be, and is that a sufficient enough amount of time for me, personally, to go to bat and say, okay, we're going to wait. I'm going to wait on this horse. Sebastian Yu is getting close to me saying no. And that's frustrating because here's a horse that I thought was so good. We qualified him back in March. He come his last quarter in 27 and 4 mile and 58. There's a horse that's going the right way. Fast forward through a pandemic. Coming out in June, we try to qualify him or try to race him, and he's terrible. So I want to believe that Sebastian Yu, that from March, is in there. I want to believe that. But the proof's in the pudding, as they say. So we're going to continue to work on Sebastian Yu. See if we can't get him under control. Rooney Blue Chip, they simply went too fast again. He trotted a mile in 57. Last quarter in 28. Was he rolly? Yes. Spoke to Mario after, and James also. You can see that he was off balance, I guess, a little rocky in places. Looked to us that maybe he was slipping. This is a horse I'd never seen that kind of speed either just yet, so I was a little unclear of exactly exactly what was going on. Does he need some time? He definitely needs time. He needs some starts. Does he need any help? Maybe a little bit. We'll put a little borium, so a little bit of extra grab on his front feet. See if he just needed a bit. It did look to me in the video that Mario and James were right. Definitely, Mario was the first one to come to me and say, look like maybe you're slipping. I think you might be right. So we can fix that also, but at the same time, he needs 4 or 5 starts. He's not trotting in 55 right now either. Really Blue Chip. Took her to Georgian Downs last week. Looked like a winner coming out of the last turn and run. I remember this is why we threw the trotting hobbles on her last year. In the straightaways, seemingly the last quarter, she kind of loses herself. What she needs is about 150 pounds of weight. She does not put on weight. She eats well. We have her on ulcer medication. Doesn't appear to have ulcers except physically looking at her. She's light. She's thin. Very thin. So I think what she needs is to put some weight on. That's easier said than done. Secondly, I know exactly what she's doing coming out of the turn. I watched her do it last night. She finished up poorly. I just let her coast down the lane. Her right front foot's coming up and striking her right hock way up on her jack and the top of her shin. Can we fix that with shoeing? Hopefully. I believe so. I think so. But we'll have to wait and see. We'll see how that takes shape this week. We will requalify her next week with the hobbles on. And I'm going to make some shoeing changes to her. See if we can't get her away from that jack. If we can, I'm sure she'll trot 56, 57. If she can't, then she's going to have a summer in the Nowheres at 30, Nowheres at 40 or 50. Doing okay here in Georgian. I'm not concerned with Really Blue Chip other than the fact that I don't think she's going to New York. I don't think she's going to be a stake filly as is. But she can be a useful horse. She already proved that. She was going to win in 58 or at least trot in 58 2 weeks ago and roll off. So then we got to the good part of the night, good part of the day. Emerald Mist was 4th, pace 55. Looked a little weak, a little flat, but definitely raced good. 3 wide in the last turn, not her forte, and still come on again down the lane to be 4th. Good mile from her. Stonebridge Simba was a winner, should have been a winner for quite some time. Virgil finally had some luck with him. It was the bottom of the barrel, the cheapest class maybe in North America, but nevertheless he won in 156 on a half-mile track. Good for Stonebridge Simba. Finally get him back on track. He might be coming home to Ontario or might race him once more over there. We will wait and see. Then we got to Beach Boutique. Almost last at Detton Lane, 9th, I think, at Detton Lane. 10 lengths off. Was flying on the end of it. 27 and a piece. Mile and 54. Man, oh man. Now, you talk about horses that haven't turned the corner, that haven't got there yet. This is a filly that had a ton of question marks hanging on her. And she looked some kind of good last night. I think she's probably sitting on a 52, 53 mile. If she got away close, she's a different horse. And I've been very, very impressed with what I've seen from her. Talking about different horses, Miss Brampton Beast, not known for her attacking prowess on the end of the mile. A hole opened up down the lane, and she shot through and won. A big graduation for this filly. Not often you see her do that. She looked fantastic last night. Jason Ryan gave her a great drive. Kevin has done a great job with her. On the other side of that coin is Capistrano. Now, I was left last night wondering, I sent a note out after saying, this isn't Capistrano. I don't know what the hell is going on with her. I think I had a pretty good handle on what happened last night. Harry wanted to make some shoeing changes with her. And the blacksmith looked at her, said he didn't think her feet, I think, were bothering her that much, I assume. And they changed her shoes on race days. Not something I love to do, but once in a while, if the right timing takes place, and it makes sense to do so, then we will. And we did last night. And I think that is what you saw from Capistrano. Her feet were sore. She wouldn't go up to the gate. Paul McKenzie, I talked to him. He said she was running in really bad. So I believe Capistrano, a little shoeing change, maybe do a little vet work on her today. Is Saturday salvageable? I'll tell you tomorrow. Can't tell you that today. But Capistrano, her feet were clearly sore last night. I think the obvious indicator of that was the way she raced, and what precipitated that was the blacksmith shoeing the filly. I can't blame the blacksmith in this regard. I think it was a collaborative decision by everybody. Looks to me like it might have been the wrong one, but that's hindsight. So we'll look to rectify that. We'll change her from the shoes we put on her to something with little... Now, the good news in that is I think we can tell what is going on with Capistrano. Her feet were sore. So we can shoe her accordingly, work on her feet much, much harder, and see if we can get her to a place where she's a lot more comfortable. I think that's a likely scenario in that regard. So a little bit of good news, bad news for Capistrano. Another bad race from the outside, but I think I know what's going on with her. And then Brave World raced well, second in 52. Somebody sent me a message last night, said, now does he go back to Mohawk? Well, that'll be up to Richard. And I think he's doing it right. The horse clearly looked 100% better than he did the week before. He's getting tighter. Does he go back to Mohawk? That'll be up to Richard Moreau. But I was very happy from what I saw from Brave World last night. So that's where we're at with all the horses. I have 30 horses to train. I'm 4 minutes late to go first trip right here with Ailsun. Ailsun, Mama Knows Best, and My Jazz are heading to Ohio today. We're going to train them a slow mile before the heat comes. They'll be on the truck at 10 o'clock, a 5-hour ship to Ohio. To Jason, Mama Knows Best, and My Jazz will race next week in a maiden at Northfield Park, whereas Ailsun drew the rail Saturday at Northfield in Buckeye. So that's it. This is the start of my day. I got to get going. Lots to do, and I am now 5 minutes late. Talk to you guys soon. I'll give you an update about how today went. Take care.